Are you the fixer? Is your leadership style to take charge, to fix things as they come up, just to take care of stuff? If you disappeared for 2 weeks from your business, from your leadership position, what would happen? Would people be freaking out, be asking you for help? Would you be really stressed out? Would there be a bottleneck? You may be the biggest bottleneck in your growth of your company, either as an executive or business owner. Hi, I'm Michael Ceely. I'm an executive and business coach. And in this video, I'm going to give you 3 strategies to fix the fixer, right? So the fixer is a style that has pros and cons. We'll go over that. But by the end, you're going to have 3 really powerful strategies so that you can stop being the bottleneck in your business. So who is the fixer? Now, this applies in executive corporate settings and also in business settings where there's a founder who is the fixer. Now, the fixer is someone who really likes to take charge, just get it done, solve that problem. What they don't do is they don't think about who could fix this, who else could do this, so that they don't delegate. They also don't assess the urgency of the particular problem that's arising. They may be able to actually wait and back burner it and think about some other ways to solve the problem. Another thing about the fixer is that they're highly motivated, typically very passionate, very driven people. And so they have this kind of engine going all the time. And they don't like to remain idle. They like to have problems that they're solving at all times. It makes them feel like they're making progress. But if you look at a 30,000-foot view, they may be in the weeds a bit too much and actually not making as much progress as they feel. Right, so what we want to do is we want to get the fixer, take the best things from the fixer, keep those, and the things that are really kind of being the bottleneck in the business or the growth of the organization, getting rid of those. And like I said, we're going to be talking about ways to do that in a second. So let's talk about the pros of the fixer personality, the fixer leadership style. So number 1, they can be truly great in crisis situations, in hustle emergency situations. The fixer will totally step up, almost like an emergency room doctor. Stuff will just get done. People will just they'll feel supported, like the fixer's got this. He's got our back or she's got our back. So this is a real advantage. The fixer's really good in short-term situations where stuff needs to get done quickly. If there's an emergency meeting that has to happen, that there has to be some triage with the client or something like that, the fixer's really great at that. So all of these things are strengths, right? These are strong points of the fixer leadership style. But the problem is this can become the only gear that the fixer has, and this can lead to burnout. This can lead to really just a bottleneck in the growth of the company or of the business, because the fixer is integral to really everything moving forward. Okay, let's talk about the cons of the fixer leadership style. Number 1, there's no triage system. The fixer sees everything as urgent, and it really has a hard time categorizing and labeling the urgency of problems and things in the company. So therefore, there's no strategic bandwidth for the fixer. The fixer doesn't spend that time on that 30,000-foot view, looking over things, really playing kind of 3-dimensional chess with the business growth. There's no bandwidth for that at all. They're stuck in the problem-solving mode. Another big problem of the fixer leadership style is something called delegation atrophy. What this means is because there's little delegation or inconsistent delegation, this leads to the team really not feeling empowered. There may be something called learned helplessness going on. What that is that the team gets frustrated with the fixer because the fixer may do things their way. The team doesn't feel empowered. And so there's this atrophy, that muscle that the team has of their own empowerment and their own problem-solving skills. That goes down because the fixer rushes in almost like a parent who just fixes things for their kids. The kids never learn. They don't get the self-confidence. And so the team may actually burn out, but more in sort of an unempowered way. They don't feel they have any agency, and that can be a problem. The next big problem is lack of ROI on actions. So think about it this way, like needle-moving activities. The cost of this leader's, basically their time, right, is spent on low-value activities. everything in an organization has value for activities, but what I mean is this leader is not really fulfilling their role. They're too in the weeds, and so their time and their energy is spent on these things that could be delegated, and all of these high value activities such as getting more funding or meeting new clients or really marketing well or meeting other leaders in the industry. These things, there's no time for this. And so this is a real bottleneck. And finally, one of the biggest problems of this style for the fixer is it can lead to burnout. Even if the fixer has this motor, this engine, they're always going, they're really competitive, kind of type A, they can get frustrated too. Because they're stuck in one gear all the time, always going, always solving problems, is they can tend to burn out. And it can be a catastrophic kind of burnout where they're just, they're absent for a week, or they need to go on an extended vacation, or they're just mentally checked out for a while. So that's one of the biggest dangers of the fixer, is that they literally will run out of gears, run out of energy because they're only in this one mode. Okay, as I said, here are 3 strategies that are going to help you if you have a fixer style. Number 1, you need to develop an urgency or a triage filter. Almost like you are in an emergency room and a patient comes in and you ask yourself, is this life or death? Or can this patient, because we're so backed up with patients, can this particular problem be put on the back burner? So you need to have an urgency or a triage filter and literally make it binary. Emergency or non-emergency. Literally that simple. So develop in your mind as the fixer almost like visual labels, like maybe a red label or a blue label or something like that, where a problem will pop up and you'll literally label it as emergency, like must do now or else there's going to be a catastrophe, or like blue label, it's something I could literally wait an hour and there wouldn't be any difference. This can be super helpful, not just for, having the proper role as a leader, but for your stress level as well as the fixer or as a leader, is that you're able to say, really during the day, there's maybe one thing that pops up that's a true emergency, or maybe even less than that. And it can really be a stress reducer for the fixer and really get them on track for not putting out all of these fires. Okay, number 2, the next strategy I have for you if you're a fixer is ask this one question. And the question is ROI of involvement. What is the return of investment on my involvement in this particular issue? Always ask that question. Ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? If I spend 30 minutes on this particular problem, is this really the best use of my time? Because I am the leader and my time is incredibly valuable. And number 3, finally, the third strategy is probably the most important. It's delegation. But not just handing it off, not just saying, hey, do this, but really the mastery of delegation, which is coaching people to do it themselves. And this is an iterative process because someone might come back to you and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. You handed it off to me, but I really need your guidance on this. And expect that at first if you haven't done a lot of delegating yet, because you kind of train people to be helpless. They're really coming to you. So that you need to train them to solve it themselves. And the way you do it is expect people to pester you, but don't close the door on them. It's going to be a process where you need to keep empowering them day after day after day. So what you do is you delegate something and then expect someone to come back with questions and then ask them questions. Well, what about this? Have you tried? Or literally tell me what you have tried, right? And they may have tried a couple things and it hasn't worked. And what you want to do is you don't want to offer them solutions. You want to say, well, let me think about it. I may have some ideas for you. Keep trying. Why don't you ask so-and-so, somebody else? So put another point person that they can ask questions to, right? But have that open door policy, but never solve that issue for them. Ask them, what have you tried? What have you done? And if it makes you anxious to just simply keep pushing it back onto this person you've delegated to, have in your mind a time frame. something like, I don't know, a day or 3 days or something like that, where you're going to promise yourself, and this is kind of like a behavioral experiment, you're going to promise yourself that you're not going to solve the problem until Friday or whatever it is. You're going to have in your mind, put on your calendar, check in with Bob and in accounting or whatever, that how's the progress on that thing I delegated to you, right? But the behavioral experiment is to not break that deadline for yourself. Like, I'm literally going to wait 3 days. I know that nothing's going to fall apart in 3 days, but I'm going to resist the temptation to give Bob in accounting extra advice. I'm going to resist the temptation to simply solve it. And this way, what you do is you start building that tolerance within yourself of the discomfort of problems, of you not solving problems, right? And you put time frames on there. Start small at first. It could be literally 24 hours, and then build it out longer and longer. Like on the calendar, I'm going to check in with somebody in a week, right? It's on my calendar, or in 2 weeks. And you get more and more comfortable with giving the autonomy to your team to solve problems, and they're going to get the confidence too. Okay, in summary, we talked about the urgency filter, the ROI of involvement question, and mastering delegation. These 3 things are what you really need to lean into if you are a fixer. And there's nothing wrong with being the fixer, right? There's pros and cons to every leadership style, but you really need to be honest about you being the bottleneck because you love solving problems so much. This is counterintuitive, right? So it's going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take courage, but you can do it. So I'll leave you with this. I want you to take action on the things that I've presented in this video, not just absorb it, not just think about being a better leader. If you're a fixer, I want you to think about one thing that you are doing on a consistent basis that you could delegate. One thing. Write that down, like literally commit to writing something down right now. Like, I am going to try this behavioral experiment where I do not fix this. I actually delegate it to a particular person. So you probably know what that is if you're a fixer. My challenge to you is start kind of low stakes, something that doesn't make you too anxious, and try delegating that literally today or tomorrow, okay? So again, I'm Michael Ceely. I'm an executive and business coach. I have a video in the description below that's really going to help you grow as a leader. It's called Business is a Sport. It's looking at leadership through the lens of sports and athletics. And I have a lot of protocols in there that will make you a better leader, give you more energy, and prevent burnout. So check that out. That's in the description below. So hope this video helped you. Please like and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear this. Maybe it's you, maybe it's someone else. And thanks for watching.